Guys, I just got done watching the coverage for the Apple Vision Pro AR VR headset, and let me tell you, it's one really impressive piece of technology that's going to represent a huge inflection point in this field. Kind of like ChatGPT or artificial intelligence image generation like Stable Diffusion did for the AI space. This is undoubtedly going to fuel a huge wave of change with this technology and create a huge gold rush of opportunities. And what most people aren't talking about is this technology is probably going to have a big impact on crypto, Web 3.0, and blockchain. And almost nobody saw this coming. And if you want to stay 2 steps ahead in this space, then I'm going to break down everything you need to know in this video. As a blockchain developer myself, works this technology on a daily basis, has really watched a lot of these trends emerge from nothing over the last 6 years or so. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish, break into the blockchain industry, increase your salary well past 100K, I can show you to do that over at dappdiversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's talk about why the Apple Vision Pro headset's a big deal for the blockchain space. Now, in case you missed my previous videos, I have been moving YouTube studios, which has taken up a lot of my time. I know the Apple Vision Pro headset's been out a minute, but I wanted to still make this video, even though I'm late to the party, to connect the dots on why this is such a big deal, because I think a lot of people are missing it. So a quick breakdown on what the Apple Vision Pro headset is in case you've missed the coverage. The easiest thing to do is just go watch the Apple official video. It's like a 10-minute trailer that just shows all the features of it. But basically, it's a headset that you wear over your face that does augmented reality and virtual reality. So what's the difference? So virtual reality is basically a completely digital world that whenever you put the goggles on, you don't see any of your external surroundings. You just see completely digital surroundings that are 3-dimensional that you can sort of interact with. Maybe you're in sort of a fantasy world that you don't, see anywhere around you. But augmented reality is different. It basically blends the digital world with your actual surroundings. So that's what this also does. Basically, it projects your entire environment around you, and then you can put digital things in there that you can interact with. You can even put things like your monitor display from your computer in there. You can see other people, all this type of stuff. Now, Apple's not the first person to do this. Oculus is previously one of the biggest players in the space, with the product that's put out by Facebook or Meta. But really what I see this as with Apple is a step in the next direction, okay? It's a next wave. It's a much more high-end product that basically has an entirely new operating system by Apple. I think it's called their Vision OS platform, kind of like you have Mac OS, iOS, now you have Vision OS. That's going to have a whole new ecosystem of apps and experiences that will interact with all of its crazy new features. Like it's got really good spatial audio so that you can hear everything, or in your environment, just like you see it in your environment. So your senses match up with one another. You can use it as a standalone computer. Okay. You don't need controllers like the Oculus. It watches like where your eyes go. And that's apparently really good. Even though I haven't experienced it myself, you can do all this tactile stuff where your hands are just the remotes themselves. It can recognize your voice commands, all this type of stuff. It's sort of like having a telepathic experience whenever you put it on and use, augmented reality. You can just like reach out and like grab stuff and put it in your environment, manipulate and make it do stuff. In addition to this pretty cool cutting edge feature like the optic ID, where you might have seen Face ID with your phone or Touch ID on older Apple devices or maybe your computer. Well, now you've got goggles on your face and it can always just scan your retina to authenticate your passwords, your logins, whatever. So that's really an overview of what the new AR VR platform is about. So that's cool. That's helping AR and VR take the next step forward. But why is this a big deal for blockchain, crypto, Web 3.0? Well, it all has to do with a buzzword from 2021 called the Metaverse. Okay. So if you've been around in crypto for the past couple of years, you probably know what the Metaverse is. But if you're brand new, you may not even know what that idea is. So what is it? Well, the Metaverse is really all about creating an embodied internet. Okay, so the web that we've experienced up until the present day has all been 2-dimensional on a flat screen, whether it's on your computer or a mobile device. But the promise of the Metaverse is basically having an embodied internet that's powered by augmented reality or virtual reality. Now, where do blockchains come into play with that? Well, it's all about talking about digital ownership in this new embodied internet, where you can facilitate the ownership and transfer of ownership with blockchains, things like NFTs, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason it's such a big deal is, the Metaverse idea, I think, has a ton of staying power. Okay, it came out really in 2021. That's when the kind of hype exploded. and the hype reached a fever pitch and then crashed, and a lot of people don't really care about it anymore. They think, oh, the metaverse is dead. That's an old crusty topic that's never coming back. But I don't think that's true. I think a lot of the metaverse hype in 2021 was overblown, but there's a ton of potential. And this next step forward with AR and VR with the Apple Vision Pro has the potential to push that next wave forward. And the beauty of this whole thing is that, the AR VR race is on now, okay? You've got people like Apple throwing their name into the hat. You've had major players like Facebook and Meta, which literally rebranded their entire company structure to focus on the metaverse, changing their name to Meta. And none of these people really know exactly what's going to work with the metaverse in the long term. We're releasing stuff like Apple Vision Pro now, giving developers tools to create applications. Like if you open the Apple Vision Pro right now, it just comes with the basic apps. That's because we need developers to create new experiences, and nobody really knows what's going to work yet. And the cool thing is crypto and blockchain, if it's going to have a seat at this table, has the ability to influence and shape this along with these new platforms that are coming out at the exact same time. And that's where the opportunities are going to come in. In a similar way to like when mobile came out, nobody was really sure how it was going to change everything and what was going to work. We just knew we had this new thing called the iPhone, which was just a brand new platform. But then games started to come out, okay? And you could even have games in your web browser before you had an app store. And the app store craze really started to snowball. And then navigation when GPS came out, because don't forget, if you were around, GPS wasn't around the first iPhone. And then mobile first websites, etc., etc. And similar things are happening right now with this new AR VR craze that has a huge potential to resurrect the metaverse, at which crypto and blockchain and Web 3.0 are at the epicenter. So how and why do access to the metaverse taking off with this new augmented reality and virtual reality experience? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, humans' basic desires to essentially create their world in their own image, to create themselves in their own image, and then connect with others who may not be physically close to them and experience them in the way that they want to be experienced. And Apple kind of gave away some hints at this when you see people interacting in this very idyllic, picturesque environment, bringing all this augmented reality stuff into that environment. Also, doing things like FaceTime, where you get to generate your avatar, okay, in a way that looks like you, mimics your facial expressions so that other people can do it, but it's a little more idealized and picture perfect than the actual representation of you, okay? And then imagine doing things like stacking artificial intelligence on top of this. Like, what if you could say, all right, scan my face, take a picture of it, make a animated copy of me, but make it look a little bit more like Tom Cruise or, Ryan Gosling or Superman or whatever. And then make my voice sound more like, Heath Ledger or something. And then you can sit there and tweak until your heart's content, until you look like how you want to look. People are doing this for years and years and years online with different selfie angles, professional photos, whatever. They give them those flattering image possible. But then when you see them in person, they look nothing like their representation online. This is really taking that into the next level. And so then what if you can occupy that persona all the time in your digital work? What if you were a remote employee and then this is all people ever experience of you? It can change how you can work. It can change how you can interact with others. And we're moving more and more in that direction. And you might say, hey, that sounds really dystopian. To which I would say, you're probably right. But honestly, all I'm doing is calling out how I see human nature, and that technology is mostly going to follow what humans actually desire most. But this will also spill over into big areas like gaming. And gaming is going to be a huge low-hanging fruit for the metaverse. We've already seen this in the past, where basically you can play games and then you can do digital ownership with blockchain. So let's say you collect in-game items. Well, how do you actually own those items if it's a centralized, gaming? If it's a centralized, game, how do you get them out? How do you sell them to other people? Well, that's really how you do that with blockchain and NFTs. What if you can occupy these virtual digital worlds and you can own real estate in the metaverse, or you own an item that you bought in the game, you want to sell it to somebody else? You can take it out, you can transfer it to your wallet on blockchain. You can sell it to a third party, platform. Maybe you could even meet up with a digital person and have a, swap meet where you show up, shake hands, hey, let me look at this thing. And you talk to each other and explain what it is. And then, you trade it off. I can see all that type of stuff happening. And so that's really where the blockchain side of it comes into play, is the ownership aspect of the metaverse and how that can influence the direction of how we experience things. On top of that, you can also use blockchain for digital identification, talking about the Apple Vision authentication. Well, what happens when you could just scan your eyeball and then actually connects to a private key that, is used to authorize things, with your crypto wallet or your decentralized identity in some way to prove that you are actually who you say you are. And then you could do things like authenticate with zero knowledge proofs, information about you, that you're over a certain age without giving away what your age is, or that you have a certain amount of money if you want to get a loan, but not telling them exactly how much, all things like that. And so all this stuff has been happening for a while. It's converging into a big trend, and Apple's launch of the Vision Pro is a huge leap forward for all this technology that can fuel a next big wave of change. And that's why I think it's a big deal. That's why I think it'd be a big push forward for the Metaverse, which has, much larger second order effects on crypto, blockchain, and Web 3.0 space. And not that many people are talking about this, and almost nobody saw this coming with Apple's big release. And that's why I want to make this video for you today so that you can understand. So I hope you like this video. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so that more people learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those videos and you want to the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you to master blockchain step by step to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You really don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.